It's the George Plaster Show. 30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. Featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Watson Brown. And it's a shame it's taken this long to get an introduction for this Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer, Kelly Holcomb, Willy Daunic. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. It is a beautiful Tuesday in Nashville, Tennessee. The weather is getting more and more summerish. Had a little rain last night, but we are getting there, and that's a good thing. So we got a good show for you this afternoon. Thank you for tuning us in. Let's start in Murfreesboro and say hello to the one and only Kelly Holcomb. Kelly, how you doing?
Good, George. How about yourself?
I'm good. I like the weather. There's a lot of sports going on. This is a good time of year.
I feel better now that I've got the weather report, though. I really do.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
Yeah, I do.
I say that. I really haven't looked. But it's nice out there right now. I mean, you could have, if you cared enough, you could have looked out there and seen it yourself.
Oh, I've been out in it. I get how good it is and how nice it is,
Yes.
how blue the skies are, and you got a few little rain clouds, but it's not raining anymore. So it makes me feel good when I come on the show every day and you give me a weather report. That makes me feel really good.
That's wonderful. Billy, how are you today?
I'm doing great.
Mm-hmm.
You've been playing some golf, Kelly?
Played yesterday. Yeah, I have. I have been playing golf. Do you play golf, Billy?
No, I don't. See, I'm working hard for the show. Yeah.
Oh, is that right?
I don't have any time.
Right?
Yeah.
Whatever. Really?
Whatever.
What a load of crap.
No, I wish I could play golf.
That may have more to do with it.
Yeah.
I think you're a little bit like George. You probably got not much athletic ability in that body of yours.
No, I've got some.
Kelly, I had quite a bit more than you know anything about.
George, I think that's a bunch of malarkey too. That's a bunch of garbage.
I would have loved to have taken your butt behind the woodshed in tennis and just beat the hell out of you.
And I could probably beat you in tennis, and that was probably your sport.
It was my sport, and you would not have beaten me.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Hey,
here we go.
Anytime.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know you're in your 70s now.
No, I'm not
but,
in my 70s.
We can go get on the tennis court as well. I'm not scared.
I actually have been on a tennis court in the last year.
Okay. I'd like to see that.
What about
I need a wheelchair.
What about pickleball?
I've never played pickleball. I mean, I know that has become a big craze. Does the ball bounce? It looks like it has a hard time bouncing.
Well, it's like
it's like a wiffle ball.
Yeah, it's like a hard wiffle ball that. I mean, it does. You don't get great bounces, but
which means you have to get down low.
I played pickleball when I was growing up in Fayetteville with a guy at the Patrick Rehab Center down there. We'd always play, and that was before like anybody even knew what it was.
Yeah.
And now it's the big craze in the country. Now it's a lazy person's tennis, is what it is.
Exactly.
I think you could hang with Kelly in that, George.
Let me tell you something.
You might be able to beat him.
I was a damn good tennis player. Okay.
I don't see.
You don't hear me.
Are you not buying that, Kelly?
You don't hear me yap like that. So we had in my old BGA days, after we all graduated from college, we had what we called the Fat Man Olympics, which was a one day. It was golf, tennis, ping pong, bowling, pool, the run, which started out as a mile, but later became a 60-yard dash. And I won the tennis.
Boom.
Yeah. So don't screw.
I'd have to see that. I'm not scared of you, George. Anytime you want to come up here or me come down there and play you in tennis, I'm not scared now.
Right. I'd love to be about 15 years younger. I would take you behind the woodshed.
Yeah, let you tell it, you would.
Plaster puts up on the wall, former NFL quarterback.
You get beat at your own sport. If it's got a ball, I can play it, and you get beat at your own sport. George.
Well, I mean that's a good point, but I would like to have been able to maybe to get us toward the same age. That would have helped.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Yeah.
Uh,
That said, I might have to think about what you've proposed.
I think you should consider this.
Yeah. Why don't you stay out of it?
You've already got knee problems. Yeah.
Knee's doing fine. Knock on wood.
Yeah, it's doing fine because you've got Western medicine helped you with a little bit of technology in there. But hey, about 6 months, it's going to be back to where it was. Believe me.
Mm-hmm.
Same.
Yeah. Thanks for your hospitality.
Just telling you, just being honest with you. You're going to have to do it again.
Yeah. Stuff it. Do you have an update?
I do.
Do you have anything good to tell us?
A lot of substance today.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
Oh, really? A lot of substance.
A lot of meat on the bone.
The recounting of all the games I lost last night.
Yeah.
Oh.
But tonight, Preds game 5 against the Canucks.
Yes.
It's do or die. They got to win 3 in a row here. They want to stay alive. This one is in Vancouver. Vancouver obviously favored and up 3-1. So that's at 9 o'clock. Probably won't start till about 9:15, 9:20. So that's what we got tonight. Maple Leafs.
Hold on. Let me say something there. You know what's weird? Vegas has this line really tight.
Yeah, Vancouver.
And I don't
minus 130.
understand that. Yeah.
So
yeah,
maybe they know something I don't.
Well, the Canucks got billion goaltending for them. That's what they got. They had to bring guys in off the street.
That's the crazy part of this that I don't think we've talked enough about. That was their third string goalie.
I thought he played pretty darn well.
He did. That was his first playoff game too, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it had to have been.
I bet he was puckered up.
Yeah. You couldn't squeeze anything through there.
He didn't play like it though. He really showed a lot of poise.
Yeah.
There were some chances in the third period where it could have gotten out of hand, but let's move on. I don't want to talk about it.
Maple Leafs and Bruins at 6 o'clock tonight. That is game 5 in that one in Boston. Bruins can put them away. 6:30, Islanders and Canes up in Raleigh. That's game 5 as well. The Canes can put them away. And then at 8:30, the Avalanche and the Jets. That one is at 3-1 as well, with Colorado leading it. But I don't know if it's going to be as easy as a lot of people think it might be for Colorado to put Winnipeg away. Out of all the 4 games tonight, everyone's up 3-1. Canucks are up 3-1. Boston's up 3-1. Carolina's up 3-1. And Colorado's up 3-1. Would you agree, George, the Jets have the best shot of potentially ringing a few wins off here because of how competitive this series has been?
I think Winnipeg has been a big disappointment after, winning that first game, which was an instant classic 7-6.
Yeah.
They have gone
no show.
They really have.
But they're good enough. I mean, watching them.
Oh, sure. They got a great goaltender.
When you're playing against Nathan McKinnon, though, the margin for error is small. A lot like it is, with the Preds right now and playing the Canucks. I mean, Canucks don't have a superstar. Maybe you could say that's Hughes, but we'll see. We'll see what happens tonight. Avalanche and Jets. That is game 5 as well. NBA. We got a lot of NBA storylines today. LeBron James, his season is over after the exit last night. They lose in Denver. It was a tight game. It was a great game. Great fourth quarter. But Jamal Murray with another game-winning shot over Austin Reeves to win the game for the Nuggets. And after the game, and we'll get to this later, but LeBron declined to say if game 5 could be the last with the Lakers. But I think we all know it probably will be.
With the exception maybe of Boston Celtics. What the Lakers did in this series against Denver would have been good enough to beat every other NBA team on the planet.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll admit I'm shocked at how good the Lakers played Denver.
Yeah, me too.
They did.
Because they, if that should have been, that felt like it ought to be Western Conference Final.
Yep.
They'd have killed some of the teams in the West because they were playing really good basketball. I know LeBron's disappointed, But there's got to be a part of him that's saying we're not that far away.
Yeah, you wonder if this series kind of made him think, is it beneficial for me to come back? Maybe we make some moves. Because Austin Reeves, I think, hurt them defensively. I think they could have probably had a better option there against Murray. But now he's a good offensive player. I'm not
offensively, he helped them.
But I mean, that there at the end, he didn't have a shot against Murray there on that mid-range jump shot. So Lakers lose 108-106 last night. LeBron approaching 40 years old. We'll get into that a little bit later. But the Lakers have said that they're very open to drafting Bronny James this summer.
Well, no kidding. No kidding, because they
That's
know
the way
what,
to get him
they
back.
know what the story is.
Yeah.
The problem is, off of what he did at USC. Now, I may live to eat these words, but he was no first rounder at USC.
No.
You know, maybe Dad knows something I don't, but I saw him enough. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, and he did. I mean, he was battling.
He's his dad's son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Bronny right now, he hasn't even announced whether he's going back to USC or
I think
enter.
He's pretty well made clear that I'd be going with Daddy.
So you're saying here, George, is that he's going to enter the draft and he'll be in the NBA next year? Is that what you're saying?
Book it.
I think so. The one win I had last night was the book it.
Was it?
Yes, it was.
How about it? Well, tonight we'll see if you can get another book it. 6 o'clock, Sixers and Knicks.
I've got one
in the Garden.
Yes. All of you watch tonight. When the organist starts at the beginning of in a lot of these arenas, the first time the organist tries to give it the defense, it sounds like dead cows mooing. Or you hear sort of the canned tape stuff.
Yeah.
You know, dun, dun.
It's
in
awesome.
New York,
in the fourth quarter,
he'll give it that dun, dun, and they'll go, defense. I mean, they get after it. You watch tonight. When that guy hits that note, they go off. It's why I put them as the loudest NHL or NBA fan base. And off what I heard Sunday at Bridgestone, I put this Preds group number 2.
Right there with them.
And if you don't like where I've got it, tough.
You know, I wonder
Just
how
my
many...
opinion.
Nobody cares.
I know. You're exactly right. That was well said. Why are you laughing?
I'm laughing at Kelly. 7 o'clock tonight, Magic and the Cavs. Cavs got to get a win. I mean, the series is tied, but they were awful in Orlando.
Yes.
So this
has been a home series.
Yes, it has. Pacers and the Bucks. Pacers lead that series 3-1.
Yes.
And Giannis is he playing?
I don't know.
We don't know yet.
I know this. No Giannis. No Damian Lillard. Out. Out before the end of April.
In other injury news, the Sixers' Joel Embiid and Kelly Oubre Jr. missed the shoot-around ahead of Game 5 tonight for the Sixers. Wanted to throw that out there. So maybe no Joel Embiid again for the Sixers.
Well, now, let me say this. No Joel Embiid, no Sixers.
What about this one?
They'll be out before May.
Kristaps Porzingis.
Who hurt himself,
No Porzingis, no Celtics, or is that not the same? He's a big part, but not the guy.
Just gives Tatum an excuse to ring up about 50.
That's true. He's their starting center. He had a calf injury just before halftime in Game 4 on Monday. So he's going to undergo some imaging today and see what happens. In the college level, Kentucky, and George, you mentioned this before the show, they have landed their 7th transfer in a month, in the span of a month. They got Brandon Garrison from Oklahoma State, former McDonald's All-American. And, you know, these guys aren't necessarily household names, but they're all really good players that he's picked up. And you can tell that this is going to be a totally different style than what John Calipari brought to Kentucky. I mean, I don't know that you're going to see many 5 stars. You might get some 4 stars here or there, but I mean, he's just going to bring in good players in general, maybe without that focus of a 5-star freshman coming in
who might stay more than a year.
Exactly.
What a novel concept.
One more college note here that, Kelly, I think you'll get a kick out of. This Georgia pitcher over the weekend in College Station was videoed by a Texas A&M fan in the bullpen. And I'm going to try to find this video maybe later. He kind of took a knee and squatted down in the corner of the Georgia bullpen and appeared to be putting something on his glove. And this video's gone viral. And apparently the Texas A&M head coach after the game said something about it. But I mean, there's all kinds of cheating allegations going on with this guy, but nothing official, because with the Vanderbilt situation, the umpires checked him and ejected him. But you can't, if you're the SEC, there's no proof other than this video.
What was, Kelly, what was it Barry Bonds used to say? It was flaxseed oil? I mean, I'll be honest. The last time I went to the grocery store, give me some Pop-Tarts. Let's get some popcorn and some flaxseed oil.
Flaxseed oil.
Where do you get flaxseed oil?
Oh, you get flaxseed oil pretty much anywhere, man. It's a good oil.
Okay, I guess I'm not up on flaxseed oil.
Yeah, flaxseed oil is a good oil. You can get it at a health food store. Go to Sprouts. Go to Trader Joe's. You can get it at a Whole Foods. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. Really appreciate that knowledge.
That's all I got.
Absolutely.
That's it?
Yep.
Not a lot of meat on the bone, was there?
Oh, give me a break, George.
Okay. Speaking of the break, after the break, Tony Basilio is going to join us. He texted me 2 or 3 times during the collapse. So we will start with a little bit of that and see where he takes it. Lord only knows what this means. Stick around. It'll be fun.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, "You need to call Bart Durham." And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
I'm Watson Brown.
I'm Kelly Holcomb.
I'm Billy Derrick.
We're the George Plaster Show. We've been Nashville's best sports talk for the last 30 years. And you know what? We still are.
Catch us live weekdays from 2 to 4 p.m. Central Time in Nashville on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Also, the podcast version is available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Looking for more than just awards and trophies? Southern Trophy House is your one-stop solution. For over 60 years, their team has created lasting impressions with a personalized touch. From embroidery to screen-printed apparel to corporate awards, signs, and name badges. They have everything you need to keep your brand shining bright. With their knowledgeable customer service team, you can relax as they create, produce, pack, and ship merchandise and awards on time and on budget. That includes etched crystal awards, custom cut acrylic, name badges, embroidered Richardson ball caps, banners, screen printed t-shirts, laser engraved Yeti cups, and knives. Recognize your hardworking team from Southern Trophy House, where they do their best to help you recognize your best. Located at 2705 Nolensville Pike in Nashville, give them a holler, 615-256-7295. Visit southerntrophy.com. Southern Trophy House, for all your personalization and recognition needs. Okay, we're going to try to have a little fun here right off the bat as we go to Knoxville and say hello to Knoxville's finest. Tony Basilio joining us on the show. Tony.
Anytime I kick it with my guys, it's always fun, boys.
I want to show you a picture. Tony was texting me from time to time toward the end of the gut punch on Sunday. Bally's apparently has a camera that is somewhere around the escalators at Bridgestone, where, you know, during pregame, they'll show, oh, the fans are arriving. And then for postgame, the fans are leaving. And so here's one that they apparently put in postgame.
Oh, no. That's why I didn't hear from you for a day and a half. Wow, look at you. Totally despondent. You know, Kelly, I was like, I got my boy, George, you know.
He was.
And we're going to text each other and sweat these
Now, wait a minute.
Hold
on. I did text you back.
Like a day and a half later.
No, that's not true.
See, he was, I'll tell you this, though. That was an absolute gut punch. That was a brutal loss. You cannot lose that game. You can't play like that. Friday night, shoot your opponent, whatever, weird deal. Okay, fine. You win Sunday, you're right back in the series. You can go on the road and win, and they can still get back in it. But that was because you're playing with a third string goalie now. I mean, come on, you can do this.
Now hold on. Yesterday morning at 8:03, I sent you stunning, numbing. Mm-hmm. It's part of the crap you go through rooting for a team.
It's unreal, guys.
So I decided we'd have a little fun with this because the gut punch can work two ways. Either the gut punch can be leveled at your team, at which point you're very despondent, or you and your team can apply the gut punch to somebody else. We're going to show you one that is near and dear to you, and I want to hear sort of some of the anecdotal stuff that came out of this.
12 to go for the first down. Sterner lost the football! Oh my goodness! He stumbled and fumbled, and Billy Ratliff recovered!
Sterner comes out away from center, and it looks like Brandon Bullsworth, number 77, the big guard, tripped him up. He was on a backside protection, Bullsworth was, and he just tripped on the quarterback.
2-8-0 teams at the time.
So
2-8-0 teams, George. And if Arkansas wins that game, they're probably going to finish the season and play in Tennessee's spot. Tennessee went on and won the national championship that year. But the stadium, it was rainy throughout the game. The crowd was resigned to the fact that the game was over. Really, all Arkansas had to do is possess the ball there, kick it away, and they're going to win the game. I mean, that's what was going to happen. And it was just one of those things that happens in those magical years when when it's almost like everything just opens up. But I'll never forget the sound in the stadium that day when the ball was on the ground. Initially, when nobody could believe it.
Were you in the press box?
No, I was on the field.
Oh, wow.
So at that point, they would let and it was a lot looser than it is these days, but they would let you get down there and mill around the bench area.
Sure.
And so we were standing down there getting ready to go into the locker room, and everybody was on the field, and I was probably around the 30, 35, and that play happened just a little away from me, but close enough. You know, when you're on a sideline on a football field, you really can't see anything. And so I was reacting. We were looking at what the crowd saw, you know, and the ball was on the ground. It was crazy when Tennessee came out of there with the ball. It's crazy looking.
It's amazing, by the way, the things you hear if you're down on a sideline.
Oh.
Tony, years ago, I did this halftime thing for Comcast where I would, review scores and here's a couple of highlights. And so I would go down there early.
Yeah.
And the Titans were playing the Baltimore Ravens, and Derek Mason, who is now a very good sports talk show host here in town, was a Raven, and he's talking smack to the Titans bench. And all of a sudden, I see Jeff Fisher yank the headset off, and he goes, "Derek, shut the hell up and get in your huddle." And everybody broke up laughing, and I'm like, so that's what goes on down there.
Well, I mean, Kelly knows that. The fans think, oh, man, how you call that play? It's so fast. That's the only thing I know. And, George, the other night when the Preds got that goal scored on them, and I've invested enough time in the playoffs this year because, I'm on the Eastern time, and I'll be up watching tonight.
Sure.
Again. I went and took a shower. I got this new bald head, and I got to take care of it.
Yes.
And so I went and took a shower. I'm going to get graphic on y'all, but
no, don't.
And the whole time I'm thinking, by the time I get out of the shower, the Preds are either going to be alive or they're going to be down 3-1. I've watched enough hockey to know that unless they got lucky, they were not scoring. The crowd, you talk about the air, you could see it on television.
Oh, gosh,
the
yes.
air going out of a place, you can't do that. When you have a wide open net and you're Sissons, you got to hit the net there. You can't brick that shot, man. Can't do it.
So someday I want to know from Andrew Burnett what he tried to say to them at the intermission, because the only thing I could come up with was, look, we've screwed this up and we know it. But if we score, all will be forgotten. So let's go score. And the truth of it is, I didn't think they came out. They got a huge ovation from the crowd when they came out. Watson was right there with you on that. No chance.
You're dealing with human beings. I mean, Kelly, you've been there. You blow a lead like that. First of all, most people that are on teams are sports fans. So we're all conditioned to know, hey, you know what? I've seen this script before. I'm just a part of it today. I'm playing in the play. I'm not in the crowd watching. I'm on a team, and that it's going off on me today, and it's going to go off on this team. And years from now, if they come back and win this series, it's a footnote. If they don't, that's Black Sunday, man. I mean, years from now, because that's a team that could win the Stanley Cup that the Preds have. And they're down to a third-team goalie. I mean, you got to win the damn series. You can't do what they've done. They played with their food the other night. They played with that team. They should have put that team away.
There was a lot of anger leaving Bridgestone, and anger I don't hear very often because
George,
it's
what are those-
normally pretty
Yeah.
supportive.
What do the tickets cost to get in there? Like what's a playoff ticket?
Most of them are in the triple digits, in the 125 to 150. Now, down low, I don't know, but up where I am, where the peasants are, it's more, 125-ish. It's not cheap.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
a lot of money. And to sit there and watch your team. And the thing about the Preds that's interesting this year is, again, I'm back to this whole thing about in sports we just don't know, is the conventional wisdom was, well, this is a year where we'll be selling at the deadline. And this is a year where we're going to play for the future. We have a core that we kind of like, but, and then they get to winning. And then all of a sudden they're not sellers. Not only that, but people are talking about it being a trendy pick to, get to a cup final and all that stuff. And then Vancouver's goalie gets hurt and you have an opportunity. And then you look over there and Edmonton has no playoff history since Wayne Gretzky. They're afraid to win in the playoffs. LA is whatever. I mean, that right there is a shot to the Western Conference Final. I mean, you can get right in the middle of it in the Final Four. I have no idea how Nashville lost both those games on home ice. First of all, they outshot them 2-1 Friday night. And then they turn around Sunday. What the hell is that in the last minute and a half? You can't do that. It's professional sports. You can't do that.
In fairness, Friday night, the shots on goal thing was really misleading. Very few of them really amounted to much.
Well, that's a good point.
But
they didn't have their
Sunday.
Sunday,
they were the better team and got nothing to show for it. And
yeah,
Tony, I have, and look, there's no proof of this. There's nothing scientific. I will claim if you take all the NBA arenas, all the NHL arenas, Madison Square Garden for a Knicks playoff game is the loudest.
Mm-hmm.
But I will put this place
in
the next group, at the top of the next group, maybe with Oklahoma City, maybe with Denver. It was loud Sunday.
George, I will, and I was telling my family members this is the highest compliment I can give that place. I grew up going to the old Philadelphia Spectrum, watching the Broad Street Bullies in the 1970s. I remember that like it was yesterday. I can close my eyes and see the burgundy seats in that place. I can see Bobby Clark on the ice and Bill Barber and Bernie Perrant and all those people and those orange jerseys. And I'm going to tell you something. That place for a playoff game equals the old Philadelphia Spectrum. And I never thought I'd say that about any place, because the connection that team had in Philadelphia with their community, you just had to kind of be there to experience that. Most of those people still live there. I saw an interview with one of the Canuck players, and they were talking about Friday's game, and they said, you know what? The atmosphere and playing in this place, we knew it was going to be wild. And he said, when we came out, it was. I mean, it's known as being one of the harder places to play in that league, and for great reason. But for a playoff game, that place rocks, man. That place rocks and rolls. It's a shame that the Preds did that. It really is. It's a shame they kind of let the fan base down over the weekend.
In a minute, I'm going to let Kelly get to the University of Tennessee stuff. I want to ask one Spectrum question.
Yeah.
When I was doing Titans preseason games on TV, we played in Philly, and I got to the vet really early because I wanted to sneak over and see if I could get somebody to let me in the Spectrum, because the Spectrum, it's the site of a Muhammad Ali fight. It's the site of Julius Erving with that whirling thing, in the playoffs. It was also the site of the Final Four the night President Reagan got shot. What do you remember of that?
The assassination day?
Well, just the whole, are we going to play the game? I
was a kid, like I was in school. In fact, I was in 8th grade. I was in Catholic school at the time, and they came and told us what happened. And it was surreal. I mean, it was so like surreal. And then that event, was in the air. Are we playing tonight? Are we not playing?
Right.
And I've seen some documentaries about that day. And I don't think any of us realized how close to death Reagan was that day. I mean, he was in a lot worse shape than people thought. And so they went ahead and played. But I wonder if people would have if they would have really known, because the doctors didn't level with anybody, just the peril that he was in.
Yeah.
Man, you just never forget days like that. Like, I'll tell you how much sports meant in Philly. When we were, and I was in school with the Sisters of St. Joseph nuns, Catholic school. These are some tough, rough people now, okay? Like, these are people you don't mess with. They tell you, I still have marks inside my mouth from where I would bite my cheeks to not laugh at things that were going on in class because I didn't want to get slapped.
Capital punishment through the nuns.
It was unreal. But when the Phillies played in the playoff games back then, they would play the Dodgers. Just it seemed like every year when I was in Catholic school, they would wheel in the television, and we would sit there and watch it in class. We didn't get done till like 3:30, 3:45. Yeah. We watched the first 5 innings. And watching those nuns who were like Philly people, watching them interact with the baseball game, it's interesting what sports does to you, because it really humanized them to a young me. And I'm like, look at this lady. She's over here sweating this game. She's kind of like I am.
Yeah.
These people are real. You know what I mean, George?
Yes. We're going to put Billy on the spot here.
Yeah.
Billy, as President Reagan is in surgery, and I happen to agree with Tony, the condition was way more serious than we were being told. The last consolation game ever in the NCAA basketball tournament was being played, and nobody wanted to be there. Who were the 2 teams?
Consolation?
Consolation. In other words, the winner is 3rd place, the loser is 4th. The championship game is won by Indiana. Bobby Knight beat Dean Smith's North Carolina. Who was the consolation game?
Was Indiana State involved? No.
2 years before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice try.
How about you, Kelly? Kelly, do you know?
Oh, hell, he doesn't know.
Good gracious, no. Come on now.
I don't know.
I'm about to tell you, and there's only one reason I know. I'll tell you what it is in a second. It's LSU in Virginia. The SEC Network did
Dale Brown
one of these deals recently where it was on Rudy Macklin, and the deal was it was on. I happened to see it Saturday. That's the only reason I remember. And so when you brought up the Spectrum, I was like, I'm going to ask this.
That's cool.
Yeah. Okay, Kelly, we've done no Tennessee so far.
Yeah, I know. And the other night, your boy Joe Milton drafted, man. He's the steal of the draft. That's what they're saying.
Who's saying that?
Kelly's saying it.
I'll tell you this. So Tennessee had 3 guys drafted and like 8 or 9 that went free agency.
Uh-huh.
I'm betting on their free agents to be more productive than the guys drafted.
You think so?
Oh, strength in numbers, yeah. Milton has look, I'm not knocking him. He has as much chance of being a productive starter in the NFL as I do. Now I'm 57, so there's still hope for me. If I hit my heavy bag, sped every other day, I'm in pretty decent shape. I'm not knocking the guy, but he's not an NFL starting quarterback. He's just not. Kamal Haddon in the secondary is a guy that I if he were a stock, I wouldn't buy him in that league. And then the third one, the back at the Miami Dolphins, I think has a chance to be pretty productive there, and I think he's in a pretty good situation. The thing about the NFL is when you're at the bottom of the draft, like 2 of those guys were, you're almost better off choosing your spot. You talk to an agent, they offer you some guaranteed money. You get in a situation where you get in a spot where you're going to get an opportunity to make a team. And how many times? I was talking to a friend of mine today, Kelly, who's a big draft Nick. And I think one of the most interesting things about the NFL draft is as much science as they put into this stuff, as much time as they spend on it, there will be guys in that first round that in 2 years will not be in the league.
Yep.
There will be guys that have come through the back door as free agents that will be all pro players. It happens every single year. And who knows why?
It's funny you say
really strange. It's really strange.
Yeah, it's really strange. It's funny you say that because when I was coming out, I thought I was going to get drafted by your Eagles in the 4th round. They brought John Gruden down to work me out at middle. The GM had talked to me. I thought I was going to get drafted. And then you'll probably remember this, but they drafted a guy in the 4th round. Ray Rhodes was the coach. And the guy's name was Dave Barr. And he was a quarterback from the University of Cal Berkeley. He didn't even make it through training camp. And he almost fired the scout that recommended him. And I thought that's where I was going. So there's no science to this thing. What everybody talks about, well, he's a can't miss. There's no such thing as a can't miss. And I was thinking the other day, 6 quarterbacks in the top 12 go, and 1 or 2 of those guys will not make it. That's just how it is because there's no science involved in it.
Within a couple of years. Yeah, 2 of them will be out of the
absolutely.
league within a couple of years. That's a thing that's crazy too. And the other thing is, like pro guys, college guys have told me this. When they get on the field right away, they know whether or not this guy's going to make it. This guy's not. You can almost tell right away at those levels, which is really strange to say that.
You absolutely can. It's and another point that you just brought up was when I went in, and I tell people this all the time, and you just made a great point. If you're in the 6th or 7th round, it's almost better not to get drafted because you can pick the place you want to go. I remember I was down because the Eagles didn't draft me. I thought that was going to happen. I thought that was just a sure shot that I was going to get to go to the Philadelphia Eagles, and it didn't happen. But then when it gets to the 6th or 7th round, my agent was telling me, he's like, don't worry about it. Somebody's going to call you. You've got a bunch of teams. So when the draft ended, I had like 3 or 4 teams call me, and I got to pick where I thought the best place was for me. But you can't tell people that. They think you're crazy. You want to get drafted. And I'm like, people in my situation that came from a small school, I wanted to name and I wanted to look at the situation where I was at. And nobody thinks about that because I don't want to go where there's an established guy and an established backup. You want to go where there's a better situation for you. And you just can't explain that to people. They don't understand it.
Well, I had somebody tell me, hey, how about Gerard Mayo? He's at VFL. I said, what do you mean? He drafted Joe Milton. He did Joe Milton a solid. I said, if you think for 1 second that a guy who's getting his opportunity in his lifetime that he dreamed of, okay, which is being the quarterback of the New England Patriots after Bill Belichick's going to play around with a draft pick to do his alma mater a solid, you're out of your freaking mind. So to your point, Kelly, they take him. They obviously think they can do something with Joe Milton. We'll see. But it blows my mind how much in the NFL, and so much of the draft's a television show. So much of it's an industry now. So much of it is people pay for subscriptions for this stuff year round. I mean, they just love it. Some people just love it. And they'll sit there all day and they'll go to these places. I used to think those people were actors. And who sits there and watches a draft all day? I mean, who could do that? I mean, look, I need to get a life, okay, when it comes to sports. But those people are in my prayers. You know what I'm saying? Like,
this
is
is
life, man.
This is hilarious because I'm going to tell. And I forgot to tell Derek and George this the other day, but I watched the first 10 picks of the draft, and I text both Billy and George and said, "That's it for me, fellas. I'm out. I'm not watching it anymore." So then I'm sitting in there watching TV, and my wife comes in there and she goes, "I want to watch the draft." My wife.
Wow, she's cool, man.
We watched the whole first dadgum round, and it was the most miserable thing I've ever done in my life. Who does that?
This guy's value. This guy's this. This guy's that. This guy's blah, blah, blah. This guy's blah, 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 blah. I'll tell you what, Nick Saban told on himself, which is interesting because the college football media ignored it. But Saban, I'll tell you, Saban is going to be a great broadcaster because he's really serious about everything he does.
Oh, absolutely.
He's going to be an excellent college football broadcaster. He's going to be very good at it. Saban says, when the Eagles made their pick, he says, this guy from Toledo, we tried 3 times to get him into the portal, and he wouldn't do it. He was our priority. I'm like, Nick, you're not allowed to talk to him. What do you mean you tried 3 times to get him into the portal? You're not allowed to talk to him. I didn't think.
Say that. He did say that.
Yeah,
he did say that.
Yes, and he said this, and then what I draw from it is, because I'm an Eagle fan, this guy's got character, and but to say no to Nick Saban when you're at Toledo. But the guy was like, hey, you know what? I've got a lot here to be thankful for. These people took a chance on me when nobody else would, and I'm not going to leave them.
Boy, that attitude is few and far between.
You got that right.
So let me ask one more. So let's flip the script a little bit with basketball. What is your remarks, your thinking on Jonas Adu going to Arkansas and the Milwaukee kid going to Arizona?
Jonas Adu was going to go to Baylor, who offered him I think it was $1.15 million, I heard. And John Calipari said, hold my beer. How about 1.3?
That Tyson chicken money's pretty good, isn't it?
Do what now?
That Tyson chicken money's pretty good.
Yeah, something's pretty good. Because the guy at Baylor, when he turned Kentucky down, it's interesting, both those guys, it's tied to Kentucky. When the guy at Baylor turned down Kentucky, they basically guaranteed him a reserve for NIL that was a lot larger than what he had. He went back to them and worked that. That's what these coaches are doing now. And then Calipari they outbid him. The Toby Awaka deal is very interesting because that's the guy Tennessee didn't want to lose. He is going to go to Arizona where he's got somebody in front of him just like he would have had at Tennessee. And this guy, I love him because he plays so hard. He's such a heart and soul player. They love him. He tries so hard. He's a highly intelligent. He's a member of one of the book clubs on campus. This guy reads voraciously, okay? Like a really intelligent, really thoughtful, voracious reader. And this guy can't stay on the floor. I mean, he wants guaranteed playing time. I mean, I'd say, sure, I'll give you your 13 minutes. You can commit 5 fouls. That's what he does. It's like a foul machine.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's interesting. The portal, I give Rick Barnes a lot of credit because Tennessee's going to come out of the transfer portal a very good team, and they've done a really nice job of maneuvering the portal. There was a kid from who Mark Griffin, by the way, in that program Griff had, who was at Ohio State.
Right.
And Tennessee's new big man. He's one of the premier shot blockers in college basketball. They went right up there and talked to him, and magically he appeared in the portal, and they got him.
Oh, the portal. You think these coaches could write a book?
The parents could write a book. Because what happens
you're right
to parents,
about that too.
Hey, what happens to these kids is, I love you, I love you, I love you. Kind of like Kelly. And then this guy's on your roster. What about me? Oh, I don't have a spot for you, but I love you. It happens to kids every day, right? And that's what's going on.
You think about it.
We'll give you an opportunity.
Kelly,
yeah, we'll give you an opportunity.
Good quarterback in college. We assume could put a noun and a verb together. Can you imagine the money he could make if they had known, if a big school had known, by the way, he'll play 14 years in the NFL.
Oh my God.
You realize the kind of money he could have made?
Here's Here's what I always think about. When I was a true freshman, I went down and played Florida State when they were number 1 in the country. And I completed 15 straight passes against them, which was a school record as a freshman. As a 18-year-old freshman, just turned 18-year-old freshman. And
Florida
I remember
State would have offered you after the game.
That's what I'm saying. I remember Bobby Bowden talking about me in the paper going, wow, that kid was really good. And I was thinking to myself, like, if that was back in the day, today, I would be making all kind of money. It's crazy.
Hey, would your parents have let you leave, Kelly?
Probably not.
See, we were different, man. It was different back then. It was really different back then.
There was loyalty, man. I had loyalty. I don't know if I could have done it, man. I really I talked to Coach Donnelly yesterday. I talked to my quarterback coach once a week or twice a week. I mean, they're still like dads to me. So I don't know if I could have done it.
What's it worth to these kids? Look, who am I? I'm just some old white guy, okay? I don't know what I know. And I know enough to be dangerous. But the one thing these kids are missing is you're a man without a country. You have no alma mater.
Right.
You have nothing to go back to. You burn all those bridges. Like Toby Awaka is a good example.
You're a
He's always going to
mercenary.
be a great guy in young standing, but that's right, George. When you walk out, it's just not your school. You know, it's one of the schools you went to, and some of these guys are going to go 3 or 4 schools.
Yeah.
I just don't understand it.
I don't either. I really don't. I want to know. Here's another question. I'm sorry. It might be a long-winded question, but this NIL stuff, I mean, I know, but like, will they, because they're going to keep going back to the same people over and over and over again. When are they going to turn it over to the schools? And do you think it'll ever reach the endowment level? Like, will they start dipping into endowment for that stuff?
I would say never say never. Eventually, it's going to be done by the schools. The last thing an athletic director wants is at these places 2 or 3 other people getting their hands on these big money boosters. Yeah. George knows that.
That's the battle right now.
These presidents don't want it. These athletic directors don't want it. They don't want these collectives. So but the problem is, if I bring it inside, I have to admit these people are employees. And the last thing they want to do is admit these people are employees. Because if I have an employee, I have to give you health care. I've got to give you benefits. I've got to give you insurance. I've got to treat you like a person. I've got to do all these things. And until that happens, I can just treat you like a commodity, which is what we're doing now. Kind of trade you around, kind of cut you when I'm tired of you. Look, the coaches are not innocent in this stuff, guys. It's not just the players. No. Coaches I'm telling you, the coaches will, and I give Rick Barnes a lot of credit because the deal is right now, in this current system, you're either going to kill or be killed. There's no in-betweens. If you're passive right now, you're passive on the recruiting trail, you're going to get run over. You just are. And Tony, I was talking to Billy today. Boy, I was visiting with Billy off the air today. George, I'm going to tell you something. That is an impressive young man.
So you've hired him.
I said, no, I didn't hire him. I said, Billy, I don't have any money. I said, Billy, how old are you? And he told me, I couldn't believe it.
Oh, God,
I could not believe it. He projects 10 years older than he is.
This dude still gets warm. This dude still gets warm milk. This dude still gets warm milk from his mommy every night before he goes to bed. Come on, Tony.
I love him. I mean,
good gracious.
I think he's a sharp guy.
Did he electronically send you a resume?
He didn't, but verbally
he committed.
He has the job. No, he didn't commit to anything, but I was thinking to myself the whole time. I hung up with him and I looked at my lovely wife and I said, you think there's something we could do? I mean, do we have a role? Is there something we could?
NIL?
I love him. I love Billy. My gosh, I love him.
Oh,
you hear that, Kelly?
You obviously don't know him, Tony. Good gracious.
You might want to call us.
He's a thorn in my side.
Billy, how long did we talk today? 45 minutes?
About 40, 45 minutes.
It was
what are you talking about?
It was a great conversation.
It was
what are you talking about?
It was a wonderful part of my day, man. I got to tell you, I
probably
treasured
how
our
much
time
Billy
together.
hates me.
Every time I'm on the phone with Billy, I say, I got to get off Billy because I feel like I'm losing brain cells.
Well, isn't that ironic, George? Your name
Never came up.
No, your name came up today, and you were talked about favorably. Kelly, your name came up
as well.
We'll leave it there.
I really don't care. You know what? Because here's the deal, Tony. Billy's not one of the 6 guys that I need. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
he's not one
Billy
of those
loves
guys.
you.
And
Billy
probably
loves
when
you.
you threatened to punch him in the throat, that probably didn't go over well either.
Kelly, Billy
Okay.
loves you. I love you.
Tell people how they can hear you.
So yeah, I'm at tclub.team, and after at the Vandy series, we're going to be doing some post game shows. I haven't told anybody yet, but next weekend we'll be doing some post game shows. And the Vols are at Florida this weekend. We had Chris Burke on today. He broke the news that they're going to be on ESPN on Thursday night. So Tennessee and Florida, it's a really important series for Florida. I don't know how the Vols have the record they do. I had Tony Vitello on today, and I said, you guys are doing a hell of a job because they just don't have enough pitching. But they somehow figured it out this year. They figured it out so far.
Pitch around the slugger.
Always.
Pitch around the what's the kid's name?
Christian Moore.
No, for Florida.
Caglione.
Caglione. God, that guy.
Pitch around him.
Highlight film.
Pitch around him.
He pitches too.
You know what? Burke told me something which is interesting. He said in college baseball they don't pitch around people. It didn't like Major League Baseball where they go put him on.
Well,
at this level, for whatever reason, George, these coaches don't like to do it. And Billy and I were talking. For some reason, Kentucky chose to play and pitch to our second baseman, Moore. I'm going to tell you something. You're out of your damn mind. He's already hit 2 home runs on you. Put him on base. I don't care if the bases are loaded. Put him on base.
I love it. Let's do it again next week.
Y'all are incredible. And
so are you.
Well, it's been alleged. Thank you, guys.
Root them on tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, after the break, great stuff as always, by the way. It is so fun to go so many different directions with Tony Basilio. It's amazing. I wanted to get the Spectrum and President Reagan's thing out there today, and I knew he'd have some thoughts about it. Stat of the day, then Willy Daunic from Vancouver, following a flight yesterday that, I don't know, I assumed it was probably like flying on the Hindenburg. I hear it wasn't all that bad. We'll ask Willie about it next.
Hit After Hit has become the baseball store in Tennessee. They have over 1,000 different models of gloves and over 1,500 wood bats. They also have several Iron Mike pitching machines as well as a Hit Tracks machine. If they don't have it, you probably don't need it. We're proud to call Hit After Hit the official shirt provider of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night.
Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances. And Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Convenience and value, two words that we expect when we do business. Our goal at JHA Company is to deliver just that, both to our school partners and to our customers. Whether you're purchasing photos, yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
Top of the hour on a Wednesday. We're talking a little Preds with Willy Daunic coming up. But first, stat of the day brought to you by John English Antique Sports and Cards out in Shelbyville. They're open during the week, Tuesday through Friday from noon to 5, and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5. Give them a call, 931-492-4304. All right, we're going NBA today. Stephen Curry, Kevin Durant, and LeBron James won't be in the second round this postseason. When was the last time that happened? That's a wild stat.
Gosh. Yeah, good gracious.
Well, okay, LeBron, fairly recent. Stephen Curry, that's a different story. We're going to have to go back a ways on Curry. I don't know the year, but what the hell? Let's, you know what, Kelly, let's dump it in Willie's lap. I hired him 31 years ago because he had all this useless crap stored up there. Let's just dump it in his lap. Hello, Willie.
Hello, gentlemen. Greetings from Vancouver.
Yes, yes. Are you in your hotel room?
I am, yes.
Mm-hmm. Is it 5-star?
Yes, I would say so.
Okay, good answer.
Yes.
What's the answer to this question?
The last time that LeBron and Steph were not in the second round, the Grizzlies were in Vancouver.
Oh, good Lord. But you don't know the year.
No, I have no idea. I don't. I could guess. I would take an educated guess and say 2010.
Oh no, the Grizzlies have been.
I'm kidding. I don't know. I'm just joking about the Grizzlies. They did used to play.
Let's toss it out there.
It is 05.
Good Lord. Look at LeBron without the beard. Look how young he looked. And he had hair.
That's crazy.
Okay, so that was the question. We welcome all of you into the 3 o'clock hour. Willy Daunic joining us from Vancouver, where the Predators go after Game 5 tonight. Willie, are you aware of some things that went on in your telecast Sunday?
Such as
this.
All right.
So apparently y'all have a camera that, shows the obligatory, the fans are filing in, what a lovely scene, and then they have the fans are leaving, the game is over, and we have pissed off George.
George, if you show that again, it's $100 fine.
I know. So there was a police officer friend of mine, Garen Hoskins, sent me this Sunday night, and I need to see if I can find exactly what he said to me. Here it is. Disappointing loss in overtime. I see the disappointment on your face, George. Saw it on TV. So, Willie, let me start like this. When they come back out for the overtime, they got a tremendous ovation from the crowd. And my hope was that somehow that would spur them. About 30 seconds into it, I kind of was like, there doesn't look like much here. And then Vancouver scores and it's all over. First of all, what do you think Andrew Brunette said to them between periods?
I'm not sure what he said in between periods. I'm not sure what you really need to say. It is clear that when that happens to you in any sport, regardless of what you say, it is tough to put that behind you. And it does seem like it did carry over into the overtime, unfortunately. I think it's probably one of, or as disappointing or devastating a losses as I've seen. George, I think of, you and I think we're both at the Vanderbilt Michigan baseball game when David Price gave up the home run. You think about that. There was a Predator game in 2010 in Chicago in the playoffs where the series was tied 2-2 and they had the lead late.
You remember I went off about that one.
Yeah, I think about the Titans-Ravens playoff game in 2000 where Aldo Greco just had the nightmare game. Just games where you walk out of there going, how did that happen? Why did that happen? They had control of the game. So obviously that's the tough thing to be able to turn the page on. But and Kelly, I thought of your playoff game too for the Browns. I was watching with a Browns fan, a diehard Browns fan that day, so we were watching pretty closely, and it was the same kind of thing. It just happens in sports every now and then. From the other perspective, it's a great comeback, and when you lose a lead like that, you're all looking at yourselves in the mirror, saying, "What could I have done to keep that from happening?" Because it's a nightmare.
It was a nightmare, and it's still a nightmare. Everybody asked me about that, and there's like, you had such a great game. And I'm like, yeah, but we lost the game, so who cares? And it was all because we went into the prevent defense, and the prevent defense, we all know, prevents you from winning a game. Foge Fazio, rest his soul, he was calling a great game, and then the head coach took it over and says, hey, we need to back off a little bit instead of hitting Tommy Maddox in the mouth every time like we were doing. And if we do that, we're going on to Oakland the next week. But it's just, I don't know, man. It's one of those deals. And yeah, it was, we offensively, we had a great game, but we lost. I don't care.
Willie, if you could guess with Andrew Brunette, as you all were flying out there yesterday, and he's bound to have been replaying things. What could I have done? What should I have done? Blah, blah, blah. What do you think he came up with?
I think from a tactical standpoint, I don't think there was anything wrong with what they did. I think the players, if I could point out one thing, maybe got a little too aggressive at trying to block shots. And, Kelly just made the reference about the prevent defense. I thought that was the thing about the third period that was so impressive about what the Predators were doing. They had the lead going into the third, and they didn't back off at all. They dominated for the first 17 minutes to where Rick Tocchet had to look around and say to himself, there's no way we're going to score 5-on-5. We've got to gamble and pull the goalie with 3 minutes left. And I think the Predators may have played that same mentality. Let's go get it. But I think if you look at the goals, I think the Predators were so aggressive trying to block shots that if you look, they took themselves out of the play a couple of times, and they left themselves on the other side of the puck when there were those rebounds. And if you notice both of the goals, there aren't enough gold jerseys collapsing back to try to bother that shot, either one of them by Besser. But I don't think that's something that you can really coach. I think you love that they're willing to sacrifice like that. You try to learn from it as best you can, but also if Colton Sissons just slides that puck into the empty net, and I realize that's not as easy as it looks, right? He hit the post there 3 inches to the inside, and they still get the job done and they win that game. So there's so many what ifs, but I think from a tactical standpoint, I think Andrew Burnett's done a fantastic job of putting the team in position as the underdog to win all 4 of the games. Like, they've been in all 4 games, and this series probably just should not be 3-1 any way you slice it.
No, it should be 2-2, and we all know that, but it isn't. So announcers who fly with teams get a sense of certain things. There were certain Vanderbilt trips where I didn't buy that they're ready to play and they look like they're mailing it in and blah, blah, blah. Now, that doesn't mean I'm right. It's not scientific. But if you're on enough of these kind of trips, you sense things. What do you sense tonight?
I think I sensed a veteran team that has seen it all. Like, Andrew Burnett's been part of a team. He was a player on a team. It was actually the last series that Patrick Waugh ever played. He was on the Minnesota Wild, a young team, an expansion team that pulled an unbelievable comeback to beat them after being down 3-1. That was 2003, I think. Ryan McDonough has seen every kind of playoff series there has been. You look at guys like Luke Shen and Ryan O'Reilly and Roman Josi and Philip Forsberg. They've been in a lot of series. So I think they handled it. The vibe looked as good as you could hope it would look after a game like that. And, like Kelly, you could tell as soon as I hit him about that game how bitter he still is, but I think if I'd asked Kelly, do you wish that could have been a series where you had a chance to come back and win 2 out of 3 or win 3 in a row, you would have jumped at the chance to do that. And that's the beauty of a best out of 7 is you do get another shot. It's not the end of the season, and they just have to find a way to win one game here and keep themselves alive.
Okay, because you've heard this speech from me before, and I've done it a couple of times here recently. If you take all the NHL arenas and you take all the NBA arenas, I will claim the loudest place is Madison Square Garden around a Knicks playoff game. I would also claim that what I saw Sunday at Bridgestone is in the next tier. It's maybe the second loudest out there. But you've been to all these hockey places. I haven't. Where does it stack? What I heard Sunday?
I think if you look back through the last several times that they've been in the playoffs, it's as good as anything. I don't think I'm, being too biased. Obviously, we're all looking at it and through our own lens. But I don't think you can top what Bridgestone Arena is. It is. There's no question the fans were ready to go. They did everything they could. And the tough one, I thought, for the fans was Game 3, right, where they get behind 2-0. And for a lot of the game, they're waiting.
They had nothing to cheer about.
Yeah, they were waiting for something to get them going. And even though the Predators controlled the play and they had a huge edge in shots, and they were doing a lot of the things that they wanted to do, they just couldn't break through until it was a little too late. So I thought that was good. The Predator fans, despite that, to me, that's the test sometimes, is when the game's not going your way. How do the fans respond? It's easy when the team's winning for everybody to go nuts and drive them ahead. So it's a great atmosphere. I don't think anything can top it. But I think every playoff atmosphere, when right, it's rare that you walk out of there and you say, that just wasn't a playoff atmosphere. There was one game a couple years ago during the Predators' run to the Stanley Cup Final where there was a game in Anaheim that started, I think, at 5:00 local time.
Yeah, it was the Saturday game. It was Game 5.
Okay, yeah. So the fans were really late getting there, and they had a lot of excuses. Well, the traffic and all that stuff. That was one of the few times I walked out of a big playoff game saying the atmosphere wasn't what the home team would want it to be in that situation. But you know it, George. The NBA and the NHL playoffs are just great spectacles.
So does Vancouver at its noisiest reach Bridgestone?
It's right up there. I think Vancouver's had a lot of heartache over the last several years. They haven't been to the playoffs in a long time. So I think there's a little bit of skepticism that I've sensed from the town for a long time. But I think, they're nervously, buying in. I think Rick Tocchet, their coach, has done a tremendous job of changing the culture of this team for Vancouver. I think that's the number one thing they've got going for them. They've got a couple more weapons depth-wise, I think, than the Predators. But really what separates them, what made them a division champion, finishing ahead of a team like Edmonton, who they beat 4 times. They were 4 for 4 in the regular season against the Oilers, is just the team toughness and team mentality. I think Rick Tocchet has a lot to do with that. In fact, I think Rick Tocchet and Andrew Brunette are going to finish in the top 2 in the Jack Adams Award, which is the Coach of the Year.
Kelly, what do you got for Willie?
Well, what do you think the Predators, other than getting over the stun that they had the other night, what do they have to do tonight to get this thing back to Nashville?
I think the best way to answer that, I think the mentality is they played way too well to find themselves down by a count of 3-1. And so, as we just talked about, being able to put that type of game behind you is not going to be an easy thing. But if they can do that, I think they can lean on that they've done a lot of good things. Game 1, they led well into the third period. Game 2, they won. Game 3, they fell behind early, but they had a massive advantage in possession time, shots on goal, scoring chances, all of that stuff. And Casey DeSmith basically stole the game. And then Game 4, we know what happened there. It was the best game they played in the entire series, and they didn't get it done late. But if you can lean on the parts that are going in your favor, I think that's something that will have you believing you can win this game and stay in the series. And I think, to answer your question, Kelly, it's on the margins that they've lost. It's little lapses, little letdowns, and not quite enough. George, I'll quote Kevin Stallings used to say this all the time about his Vanderbilt teams. Good teams make winning plays at the end of the game, right? When you've got the opportunity to score, you have to play. You got to put it in there. You got an opportunity to clear the puck late in the game. That could be the difference in winning and losing. I think Vancouver's just been a little bit better than Nashville on the margins there with those little plays, those little winning plays that can be the difference in a very close series.
And is there one guy that you would like to see play better, or are they all playing pretty good right now, or is there one guy that needs to step his game up tonight?
One guy, if I had to circle one guy, to me would be Tommy Novak, who has been talked about a lot in this series. And based on what we saw at the morning skate and what everybody's reporting, it looks like Novak will remain in the lineup. A lot of people were saying, is that the one guy you want to try something else with? Tommy Novak, and if you followed the team during the regular season, he was a pending free agent. He's a little bit of a unique guy. He's a late bloomer that has given them a lot of secondary scoring in the course of the year, which has been very important for them, and it's very important in this series. He hasn't played great in the first 4 games. He's played a little bit better in games 3 and 4, just enough, I guess, to keep him in the lineup, it looks like. But to me, that's a guy, if he could make a play tonight, that could be the difference-making kind of thing that they need. He and Luke Evangelista are 2 younger players that are relied upon to give them a little scoring behind Philip Forsberg and the big guns, the veterans. So a big play from that line would be huge.
So I know Barry Trotz has come in here and he's done a remarkable job. These guys have got 18 games where they had a point, at least a point. And I'm going to go on. If they lose tonight, what do you think Barry Trotz does in the offseason? Like, what do you think this team needs? Do they need some more offensive scores, or, because he's going to add some pieces. Obviously, there's going to be some pieces that are gone. There's going to be some pieces that he adds. What, in your expertise, do you think he needs?
I think that it's going to be a really exciting offseason for Barry Trotz because they put themselves in such a great position. If you look at the trade deadline deals that they made, Jason Zucker, Anthony Beauvillier, they gave up basically nothing, a 5th and a 6th round pick to get those 2 guys. And those guys have helped a lot. But I think the exciting thing for Barry Trotz is, regardless of when the season And, he's got a lot of options because they've got all their draft picks and then some. They've got a load of draft picks lined up for the next couple of years. He can use those to pick prospects, or he can package some of those and make a trade for somebody. They've got some cap space that they can use, and they've got a really good young group of prospects in Milwaukee that will be a year older next year that I think they're still very high on, even though there was a couple of them that had a chance to break through this year that didn't really bust through and have great years, but they're still young enough that I think there's still a lot of reason to believe that they could get a lot of help from that group in the coming years. I think the challenge is going to be, how much can you rely on Ryan O'Reilly, Gus Nyquist, Luke Shin, who are getting a little bit older. Those guys all had fantastic years this year. I think you need some support from the younger guys going forward next year. But there's a lot of choices that Barry Trotz is going to have. But it's good, I think, to have the kind of assets that he has. So those choices, he'll have a lot of different ways he could go with it.
So this is my last thing, and George kind of brought this up yesterday. So UC Soros, I mean, he's kind of, I mean, is he still, like, I know that they've got a really good player as a goalie in Milwaukee. So does that make him kind of trade bait? I mean, he seems like the most, the highest name up there on the chart for the Predators maybe to trade. And, George and Guy talked about this yesterday. It's kind of like trade bait because they've got somebody waiting in the wings in Milwaukee that I think they think is pretty good. So could you see that coming in the foreseeable future?
I think they've got a couple choices there too. And I think there's no way around it, right? This series and this season for UC Soros is going to go into that evaluation in the offseason. I try not to overreact to the performance in one or two games. If you look at over the last 4 years, UC Soros has been a top 5 goalie in the league, but he hasn't had the playoff success yet. Hopefully that story is still not complete yet. And he can, if he can put together a couple of great games here and they get back in the series, that's going to help his stock. But that's another thing I would say, Kelly, that they have options. So option one would be to keep UC Soros and have Yaroslav Askarov, the young prospect you're talking about, who's still very young. I don't think it's time to turn over the reins to Askarov. I don't believe they think he's anywhere close to being a starter every night. He's still got a long way to go for that. Goalies tend to mature later. It's an awfully tough spot to be in mentally over a 6-month season. Could Askarov dominate for weeks at a time? I think he's that talented. He's got an unbelievably high ceiling. He's got all of the tools. And he's got that swagger that I think could make him great. But there's still a lot of talk. He needs to refine some things. It's like a pitcher that's got electric stuff. And one night he looks like he could throw a no-hitter. He's throwing 98. He's got a nasty slider. He comes up with a great changeup. But then the next night he's off. He walks 5 guys and he makes mistakes, and veteran players exploit him, and he gives up 6 runs in 3 innings, and you're like, wait, well, maybe we need to send him back to the minors. I think Askarov is sort of at that stage. So I think in a perfect world, you could have Soros as the starter, the mentor, and Askarov could be the backup. But they both also have outstanding trade value too. So that's why Barry Trotz has got a lot to think about when he puts this together, because Soros will have 1 year left on his contract. He's a bargain at $5 million a year. But as you guys probably heard throughout the season, there was a lot of calls and trade discussions regarding him. So we'll see what happens, and what happens in this series, may or may not influence that.
I tried to find a picture of you with hair, and
I still think I had some hair the last time that LeBron and Steph were not in the second round. What was that? What did we say it was? 2005?
It was the Millard Fillmore administration.
Yeah. It was. I think it was fading fast. The bald spot was there for sure, but I was trying to hang on at that point.
Okay, well, tell them next home game, do not put me on if the Predators lose.
Okay, I will pass that along to our production truck.
You do that.
This gentleman here in 304. Do not shoot 304 if it goes bad.
Row one. Willie, thank you as always. Really appreciate it.
If this pops up again, George, that will be good news because that will mean good news tonight. They've got to just make it about tonight here and see if they can. They always say this is the favorite line every hockey player says. There's no momentum that carries over from game to game in a playoff series. Let's hope that that's the case and get off to a good start tonight and see what happens.
Like hell there isn't. I don't believe that.
Well, you guys, I'll leave that on your plate. You guys can debate it.
Well, you know what? We might at some point.
Yeah.
Do you believe that?
I've seen a lot of games that it stuns me that how true that looks. But I think we know that the players are human, right? And everybody will be wondering the same thing when they drop the puck tonight: is how do they deal with it? You know, how are the first 5 minutes look? How do the first 10 minutes look? Given the fact of what happened in Game 4.
Good point. Talk soon.
All right. Thanks, guys.
See you, brother.
Willy Daunic reporting live from a really nice-looking hotel room in Vancouver.
It wasn't like the Jeff Him little aisleway that you got to do a game from.
You'll have to talk with Jeff about that. Take that up with him. Okay, we'll go to the break. And then the theme of the next segment, LeBron. He knew exactly what he was doing last night when he answered the question the way he answered it. I'll explain it next.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
Nashville, get ready for the greatest show on turf. Electrifying, high-octane, non-stop spring football action. Starting at only $30. Don't miss the season opener this April 27th at Municipal Auditorium.
Hi, I'm Jeff Fisher. The Nashville Cats are bringing arena football back to Nashville.
Grab your tickets now at thenashvillecats.com and be part of the action.
Star Physical Therapy was established in 1997 with one great mission: to serve. If you're hurting, don't wait to receive physical therapy. You don't need a referral to see their physical therapist, and early morning and evening appointments are available. Make the call to 615-673-1420 and get rid of that pain. Star Physical Therapy, the official health provider of Football Friday.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
You know, starting to save for your future doesn't have to be difficult. Let Wilson Bank and Trust help tone up your financial goals this year. Our certificates of deposits or CDs can help your money work harder with our competitive rates, earning you more than ever before. WBT checking options allow you to earn rewards you can really use, like a high interest rate or cash back on check card purchases when you meet some e-banking qualifications. Visit your closest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC.
So here was LeBron James last night after the Lakers went down in a crushing defeat, a tough loss where they did a lot of good things, got beat at the buzzer by the Denver Nuggets, and they're out. They're done. And yet they played really well in the playoffs. And so he got asked the question. You know what the question is. Here was the answer.
LeBron, how do you put a series like this into perspective, even this soon after it, and having it be this close, but they end up ultimately winning 4 out of 5?
First of all, you tip your hat to them. Defending champions, super great team, super well coached, and you tip your hats. I mean, they made the plays down the stretch, to win this series, and so you get credit where credit is due. That's for sure.
Couldn't be any closer to when you just got off the floor, but have you given any initial thoughts of what comes next this summer for next season?
No, I just want to get home to the family, honestly. Start looking at the schedule. Obviously, I got, my son, one of my boys is just trying to decide if he's going to, enter the draft or go back to school. I got another kid that's playing AU ball right now. My daughter's playing volleyball, and my wife is doing so many great things. So it's about family right now. And then in a couple months, I got to go to Vegas for training camp. So, I got to rest my body for USAB. But that's kind of the initial thoughts.
So when he says, I'm not answering that, okay, I believe he went into the room knowing exactly what he was going to say. And I want to see if you all agree with this. I think he's a very calculating person. And this was not you surprised me with that question. I really don't have an answer, so I'll just not reply. Well, I think he knew exactly what he was doing. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, it did sound like he wasn't going to answer that the way the media and maybe some Laker fans want him to answer it. But yeah, I mean, that's LeBron. He's not. He knew what he was going to say, like you said. And I don't think he really – do you think he really knows exactly what he's doing? That's the other part of this is maybe he's still trying to mull things over. Because I think this series, you mentioned it earlier, I'm not saying he's staying with the Lakers, but, with the Lakers, obviously they'd be up for drafting Bronny. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if this series meant anything, if it had any weight because of how much more competitive they were, as opposed to what people thought. I still think he's leaving, but I think that'll be interesting.
So, Kelly, there's some pieces to this puzzle that I don't think he has control over. One of them is the desire to play with his son. NBA draft is in late June. It would give him the opportunity to say, okay, Bronny got drafted by Philly, so I'm going to Philly. I guess he could do that. The other option he might have is to go public with a letter to all the NBA teams saying, if you draft my son, he's not going to sign. The only place he'll sign is the Lakers. It's been done before. You know who did it?
Who?
My buddy Jeff Rancourt. Years ago, they put out a letter saying, if you're thinking about drafting me, because he was a first-round draft pick, do not. The only place that I will sign is with the hometown Atlanta Braves. If not, I'm going to Clemson. Now, I didn't know that about him until way after we got to know each other, and I've talked to him about it. It was a gutsy move
that is gutsy.
I guess could backfire. But, Billy, that seems to be the one piece of this that he doesn't have much control over. If Bronny's coming out, who's drafting him?
I don't know. I think LeBron has more control than we might think. But, yeah, the bottom line is that is an NBA team really going to? I mean, they'd be sacrificing a draft pick taking Bronny right now.
It feels
he
that
cannot
way.
play in the NBA right now.
I don't think he can either. You know, I'm going to give him the benefit of a little bit of doubt because he's LeBron's son, and you know he's been through a serious health condition.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we have to be honest and fair about that. You know,
that's correct.
That young guy almost died.
No, you're absolutely right. But get back to what y'all were talking about earlier. When you're at, how long has LeBron played? He's played for those many years, and every time that you end the season the way he just ended the season, you're going to get asked that question. And he's always got that on his mind. He's always thinking about, hey, they're going to ask me this. Here's what I'm going to say. Here's how I'm going to say it. You know, I don't. Do y'all really think he's going to leave? Y'all really think he'll leave LA? Because I think LA. I'm with you, George. I think LA played them about as good as you could play them. They just got to be able to make those plays down the stretch and like stop Jamal Murray from scoring right there, or you got to make a play or two here. And they were in most of those games. So, you know, if you want to win another NBA championship, you might think about going to the Eastern Conference because maybe you'll catch them in the finals. Because Denver right now is a juggernaut and they're really good. And I don't care that they're the number 2 in the West right now. They're the best team in the NBA.
Well, I got news for you. They haven't been that good in this series. I don't think they're playing at their best. This Minnesota team, now you all may be able to pull this tape out and make a fool out of me.
Yeah.
This Minnesota series might be fairly interesting. Here's where I'm going with this. Okay, this was sent as a message to the Lakers front office. Think about this. If he'd come out last night and said, look, I want to assure everybody I will be a Laker. Okay, the Lakers front office can say, well, we can go with what we've got. But what he's really saying is, I'm approaching 40. And if you think for 1 minute I'm going to be okay with a team that bows out in the first round, think again. So I think what he's going to do, Billy, I think he's going to play Golden State against the Lakers and see what happens.
Yeah, that's it. That's what it kind of feels like right now because LeBron, you know, he wants another ring, but I think more importantly, he wants to play with Bronny. And so does he want to play with Bronny more than he wants a ring? I mean, that's
there's no way
like
to know.
What does LeBron want right now? I mean, is he satisfied with, you know, with his rings, or is this about family playing with Bronny for a couple years and retiring?
And then how do you go into a situation too, like you're talking about Golden State? How do you go into a situation like that where you've got LeBron James, the greatest scorer maybe ever to play the game? Obviously, he's the highest scorer in playoff and regular season. Like, how does he fit into or mold into that team that's already been there for so many years, has already won a lot of games? I know Klay Thompson, he's probably not going to be there next year, correct?
I think if LeBron were to sign there, he stays.
Oh,
See,
really?
the thing is, Golden State right now feels like they're in a state of decline, right?
Right, yes.
Well, all of a sudden you put LeBron in there, and all of a sudden there's we're back. You know, Klay Thompson's probably sitting there going, listen, if it's good for the team, I'll come off the bench, give me 20, 25 minutes. Here's the thing about Klay Thompson. Yeah, there's some games where he's had some donuts, the big Zippo, but there are also some games where he is cooked. I am far from ready to write off Klay Thompson.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I just don't know how he fits in, man. Like, he's going to have to fit in somewhere, and he's going to be the mainstay. Like, you got Steph Curry, you got Draymond Green, you got Klay Thompson. Like, how does he fit into all that? So, I don't know. I think if you get some pieces in L.A., I think he could. I mean, you got Anthony Davis, you got some of the guys surrounding. I think I just saw on the ticker that they're talking about Darvin Ham. They're uncertain about his future.
Yes.
So, yeah, I don't know what goes on there either. So, it's just going to be interesting to see.
And that's another piece of this. Is LeBron in the background saying, look, get me a coach who knows what he's doing? Or is he going to come out and go, wait a minute, Ham deserves another year? I don't know. I just know it's funny to me how all of a sudden these rumors about the coach started about 48 hours ago. I had never heard this rumor until then.
Right.
I don't know if it's a coincidence.
This is going to be interesting.
See Magic Johnson and Paul Westhead. Now, you want some losers?
Let's do it. Plaster's Bet of the Day brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. Give them a call, 615-242-9000, or log on to their website. That's bartdurham.com. And let's check out what happened last night. The Book It won, but Denver and Vegas did not.
Vegas. See, the last time I bet that series on this little promotion. So I'm getting 3 wins tonight. Here they are. You better get on the train with me. Yeah. This one has been a home series. When Cleveland's been at home, double-digit wins. When it's been in Orlando, double-digit losses. Tonight, it's back in Cleveland. Cavs.
Darius Garland.
Darius Garland's a stud. What a shame we didn't get to see more of him.
He's going to have to guard a little bit. The Magic have some good guards. They'll have to play a little bit more defense than they did in Orlando.
Next. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
The Knicks are at home at the Garden. The organist, from the minute they tip the thing off, is going to be playing that chant. And that place will go nuts. If you don't believe it, be watching. Now, I hear all this stuff about, is Joel Embiid playing? I'm assuming he is playing. Good Lord, this kid has been a warrior. Now, he's not particularly well liked by the Knicks. They think that he has cheap-shotted them a couple of times, and they might be right off some things I've seen. The Knicks are going to win. They're going to close out Philly, and the guy playing that organ's going to have about a week off. You got that one?
Hey, George, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
Okay, let's go to hockey. No question. Bruins at home, they're just simply better than Toronto. They kind of proved it. Toronto got 1 win off them in Boston. This just in. Number 2 will not be tonight. This series will be over.
Boston
Not
is
a book it, though. Not a book it.
Go ahead and ask me what I know you're dying to ask me, Kelly.
About the Preds. Are they coming back to Nashville?
Oh, they're coming back. The only question is, will Vancouver be coming back with them?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
I believe that this is the scenario. There's no question this thing was a gut punch. And no matter how great an ovation they got Sunday going to overtime, when they came back out on the ice, they weren't in it. And it was over in 1 minute. Well, if they take that same attitude tonight into the first 10 minutes of the game, they'll be down 2-0 and you can pack their bags. If they win the first 10 minutes of this game, it'll get really interesting.
Well, what happens if a goal is scored really fast against them? What do you think happens?
I think it tanks. And I'm not saying they tank. I think it craters. I think they're the one that has to have something good happen early. You know, all this stuff about, what went on 2 days ago doesn't play tonight. Like hell, it doesn't.
Yeah, I agree. That's tough to overcome.
Well, but you got to admit, in hockey, it's different.
Yeah, it's different because your goaltender can stand on his head.
Yeah. I think that's what Willie was getting at, that it's not, it's not as roller coaster-esque as it might be in basketball or, in a football game. Hockey, now there's still momentum, of course, but.
Do I deep down believe they're going to win tonight? No, I don't. And I hope I'm wrong. Man, I hope I'm wrong. I'd love nothing better than to get after it in Game 6, but I got my doubts.
That's why I like this format, though, because if they do win, and I know they lost 2 at home here, but if they do win tonight, they at least get to come back in front of the home crowd and maybe get some energy from those guys. So, and then you could go to a game 7. So you never know what's going to happen in that game 7.
And I know you asked Willie about what is Burnett telling the team, or did he tell the team, in between periods there? I'm telling them, hey, let's get back home. Let's get this one, get us back home, and let's get to a game 7. I mean, that's a ton of motivation there. Getting back home, playing on a Friday night, you'll have 3 days in between. I mean, that's the motivation there. It's easier said than done, of course, but
I don't know. I'm not on that plane. I'm not in that locker room. I don't know what kind of vibe there is. I know this. If there's a hangover, they will get their butt beat.
Absolutely.
They're not good enough to go in with the Sunday hangover. If they win the first 10 minutes of the game, then we may have something.
Okay.
And I'll say this, I think a big key tonight is Yossi. We haven't seen a ton of Yossi. We haven't seen him score. I'm not saying he's been awful, but I think you need to see a little bit more from him.
He got hurt for a while Sunday. People were worried that he wasn't coming back. And then when he did come back early in the second period, the crowd started chanting, Yossi, Yossi. And I was like, I wasn't the only one that noticed. Okay, we're out of here. Terry McCormick will join us tomorrow. We'll kind of do some of his recap of where the Titans finished in the draft and what does this mean down the road. Kelly, behave.
George, I will. You as well.
Billy.
I'm headed to Knoxville.
Excuse me?
I'm headed to Knoxville. Sorry, guys.
Don't let the door hit you in the rear end, homie.
See you tomorrow.
See you.